done? Yep, good. What's some of you guys? Okay. Coffee? All right.
So we actually used a lot of the same questions that we had from how do we develop a fragile person and turn them on their head. So for example, whereas one question was how do we instill doubt, how do we instill self-reliance? How do we get someone able to not rely on all those external things?
Okay. So how do we do that? Who's got any ideas? Yeah.
Taking away for periods of time, thinking like Ranger School, you get everything taken away for that period of time, and that's a builder.
Okay. How do you guys build self-reliance in yourselves?
Make it do with what you have.
Okay.
You make the best of what you
You
got.
guys have a deliberate plan of that?
I was going to ask for help and take care of everything you need to. Not what you need, so yeah, I absolutely need the help.
How many guys have a deliberate plan or to try to do that?
I try to avoid things, because, I have a tendency to buy what I consider like luxury items, things I really don't need.
Right.
So I try to keep that frame, I've made do for years, not having a lot. I try to keep in that.
How many of you know how to clean an animal? How many of you know how to fix up roadkill?
The cooking.
Yeah. That is awesome. Really.
That was question.
I had an NCO that worked for me that I think that's the way he fed his family. I'm convinced. This is in this course, he just left Damon. Damon used to pick up dead deer on the way home all the time. Tell me how you clean them and make them all. You're gonna meet a great guy called Sergeant Major Smith one day. He's gonna talk to you about that. That's
Sir, if you see it happen, like you knew, that happened on the way home or something, who else is gonna pick it up? It's just wasting the animal.
all right. Jiggy with that? All right. So, how do you make yourself, you guys, I'm serious, do you have a deliberate plan in your life to where you do this?
It may sound silly, but if I'm going to make a major purchase, I'll go look at something at least 3 times. So if I'm going to go buy a car and I decide in my mind, all right, I need a new car, I'll go look the first time. Okay, no matter what they tell me, no matter what I decide, I'm not going to buy it today. I'll go the second time. I'll look again. Maybe I look at the same things, maybe I don't. But I'll make myself go a 3rd time before I'm even willing to put money down. It's just a control measure to make sure that it's actually
Create a
something.
rule.
Right, it's just a rule.
What's that called? Make it habit?
Self-control.
We said before, it's your reason, right? So what are you guys' rules in life that make you self-reliant?
So one of my rules,
What's that?
Within your means.
Okay?
one of the things I was gonna say is that I pay tithing. 10% of my income goes to church.
Okay.
And that forces me to budget and to live within my means, to fix things that I can instead of relying.
Okay. What's your rules for how you learn? How about you, Howard?
Reflection.
You learn by
So
reflecting.
you gotta keep fade on after something goes down, you kind of step back.
Right. So you do that daily. The reason I'm asking is that's an ancient practice, okay? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Not necessarily meditation. I mean, that's a little bit too.
Storytelling.
Sort of. So every night you reflect back on, okay, what happened today? You know what I mean? You guys know how you look, what do you got?
Well, you kind of do it as like a self-assessment. Like, I don't know if you've ever board gamed a situation that you've been in before after the fact and thought about how you could have changed it, how you could have maybe presented yourself differently.
Right.
Maybe even like talking to yourself in the mirror in a certain situation you'd be
Right.
in with, say, someone of importance or someone maybe who got confrontational with you. How you would handle the situation the next time if it did happen.
Yeah, you're always like that, you're like going down the road, damn, I wish I'd have said that. Yep.
I think it's also important to be able to honestly assess yourself
Yes.
and reflect on your actions or conduct.
We're gonna come right back to that. What do you have to say?
I think just like reading, like I mean, I always have a book that I'm supposed to read. I mean, maybe
days, weeks between when I pick it up, but like at least in my mind, I got to bookmark it somewhere that I'm like constantly telling myself like,
This is a great subject, don't let me forget to go back.
I'm not the best read person. but I
Reading,
like-
let's talk about reading. How many of you guys read things outside the military? God, I wish. Okay? It's gotta be more interesting. For a long time, I never did. All I would read was history. And if it wasn't, you know, had something to do with killing people, I wasn't really that interested in it. Right? Kind of makes you have a narrow box. The reason I'm asking you about that is I know Curtis, he's told me, Colonel Price, told me, you have your wife like pick you a book once a month?
One eclectic book, totally outside my interest a month.
What a great plan. Tell them what that's opened you up to.
Let's see. Yeah, Coraggio, I got a book on opera, and from the 1890s about how a man developed his opera career. And I learned about focus, about putting up with people that laugh and mock what you do, staying true to what you're skilled at and working on it, and how to integrate with others that do that. I read a book on the Olympic champion. I think I bought the 275th one. He wrote a little book, self-published, on how to become an Olympic champion in the two-man canoe. And I was like, okay. And I read it, and I was like, holy cow. Thor 3. Everything about it was about resiliency. Mental, physical, how to force yourself to do what you don't want to do. And I was like, that book really changed me. And then, this month I've got Cleopatra.
It's good stuff, isn't it? Old wise man right there. And pick his brain before you leave. Good stuff. That's an important thing, is self-assessment. Who in here can tell me how they learn? How do you learn?
Biggest ways are hearing things, seeing things, and doing things.
Okay? Well, you learn from failing. I like that. You comfortable with that?
Yes.
What have you taught yourself? Like just not a required thing. Like right now, the reason I'm asking you this is because I realized that I was letting everybody else dictate what I learned. You know what I mean? So I was like, one day I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna learn French. I don't know why, but I'm gonna learn French. So I like figured out how to like talk to Joe Bernard, the language guy, and he like gave me this thing, and I started doing it. Now I'm on like 100 and some odd days straight of every day where I practice 30 something minutes of French. You know what I mean? What have you got anything yet?
Started a company.
What's that?
Started a company.
Really? What kind of company?
It's do some overseas work and then domestically environment.
Cool. I got one of my guys, he's an instructor. I don't think these guys have Ryan Davis, do they? No. Ryan, you go to his house, you go in his garage, he's built a banjo from scratch. That is cool. You know what I mean? He's opening his mind to all kinds of things that you never know when that's going to matter, right? Always be trying to expand yourself like that, right? That's self-assessment. Always figuring out, how do I learn? And then you got to figure out, how do you guys learn, right? The guys you lead, gals you lead, how do they learn? Not everybody's different. We have this thing we say in this course: if you fail, that's our fault. They figured out how to connect with you. 90% of you may get it right off the bat, but there'll be that one guy that doesn't, and we'll try everything we can to figure out how to get you there. Okay? So if you know how you are, how you learn, you need to like work with your instructors on it. Right? You know, I tend to learn more from my peers. You know, like working with, asking them questions. You know, go try, fail at it, take it back. Good stuff. What else? Yeah.
I think a great way to learn is actually teaching. You know, you may understand the concept in your head, and you may be able to execute something, but until you think, how would I teach this to somebody? How would I make somebody who has no background understand what I'm talking about? That's when you really internalize it and have to understand it from a different aspect.
Boy, this is money. You guys are going through this right now, aren't you? You know where that came from? That poor captain back there behind that camera, told him one day, him and Captain James, I said, hey, I need you to make a videotape of SOSRA for breaching an obstacle. All right, sir. We'll have that done in a couple hours. About a week later, they were pulling their fucking hair out. Guarantee you, it's not a breach. It's exactly what you had happen. Why do you think you're teaching classes now on videotape? Just because of that experience. Because they were like, they came back and they were like, I really know how to breach now. Right? That is awesome. That goes back to responsibility, that goes back to purpose, doesn't it? You start giving that to folks that are in your unit. If you want them to really learn how to do something, make them teach it. Right? Good stuff. Go ahead.
So, one of the things that we thought about in terms of a non-fragile person is it's got to be somebody that has control of what's in their head, because if they can control what's in their head, they can focus on what's under their control, then you can't do anything to harm that person. You have no leverage on them. Kind of that stoic thought.
Okay. How many guys read the articles on stoicism? What do you guys think about that?
I thought it was really powerful. Kind of opened myself up a little bit. My wife and I have gone through about 7 years of infertility, and so there's a lot of things as a couple when you go through something like that. It's very easy to put external blame. It's very easy to make it something else's fault, and that's one way to cope with it and one way to live with yourself. But you ultimately have to come down to controlling how you think about it, what your attitude is about it. How am I going to react when my neighbor gets pregnant? And I know my neighbor isn't financially sound, and they're constantly fighting, and they're trying to do this to fix their relationship, and they're totally horrible, and yet I can't be a parent. And how I control my reaction to that is more important than anything else.
That's right. So, I'm going to tell you something. If you don't know who that old Roman slave is, Epictetus, it'd be worth your while to study him. I've been studying him for over a decade now. I know for us that grew up in Southern Baptist homes, sometimes it's uncomfortable to read from other people. But as I read it more, I realize how much he has in common with the Apostle Paul. Or you read about Epictetus' greatest contribution to Western civilization was probably his understanding of what we do control and what we don't. The old serenity prayer, right? That's where it comes from, guys. Epictetus had a saying, men are not disturbed by events. They're disturbed by their opinion of that event. Think about that. Okay? That says a ton, right? About how you act, just like you said, in circumstances. Okay? So, I'll tell you a story real quick. One of my best friends was a branch manager, a guy named Pat Collins. Hopefully one day he'll be a group commander. Great American. Known him since I was a lieutenant in Korea. He's a battalion commander down in 7th Group right now. And Pat used to be branch manager, and he called me in Iraq. And he said, Mike, I know you got picked up to go to NDU. He said, but I got a gig in Afghanistan. That you get on a plane when you leave Iraq, go straight to Afghanistan and be a DCO for infantry brigade, I think. I was like, man, I'm fucking off of that. Now, why do you think he called me? Anybody got an idea? I challenged him one day. I said, Pat, I know my career is going nowhere, but I believe I can make any job I get interesting and worthwhile. You give me the worst fucking job you can find. So he called me up. I said, I got it. Let's sign me up. Unfortunately, the Army wouldn't let me do it. So the second one, here. This has been the best year in my Army career. It's been the most fun because I finally found the right attitude of how to look at circumstance. I wish I'd done this 20 years ago. And I realized it doesn't matter what your job is. You can make that job whatever you want it to be. Okay? When I telling you that because there's only gonna be about 8 of you that get to be in charge one day. And it's gonna hurt your little feelings. But you're limiting yourself to what you can contribute to our country, okay? Don't look at your career as an all or nothing thing. Look at your circumstances. What can I contribute, right? It's much more than that. Good stuff. All right, it's gonna, did you guys call?
I just,
Who'd you call?
well, tried calling my dad, he's in Arizona fighting fires right now, but I called my grandparents.
Awesome.
Who, they both put themselves on speakerphone, and then they said, belief in God and finding inner peace is the key to surviving events that you can't control. And then they said that we have to have that 4-day weekend on August 8th so I can go see them.
I like that. What do you guys think about their advice? Agree with the 4-day? People get uncomfortable when you talk about God for some reason, okay? I'm an agnostic believer, all right? And what that means is I was raised a Southern Baptist, all right? That we had to raise our hand and go up and say, I have sinned, give my life to Christ. I know why we do that. Anybody know what commitment consistency theory is? When you do something in front of other people, you're going to hold yourself accountable to that. Okay? I got that. Anybody who is an atheist or degrades the role of God and religion in our world, I don't understand. Even if you can't prove there is a God. Okay? I choose to live that illusion. I don't care if there is or not. Okay? It'd be fantastic if there is. I think we're a better place with it. Okay? I can tell you this. I've had all kinds of people. I would prefer to have Curtis Price as my neighbor. He's a born-again Christian, as opposed to someone who is not. I can leave my doors unlocked, and I can trust him. Even if he's not a born-again Christian, maybe he's just a good Muslim. He's got an ethical thing that he feels like he's been held accountable for. You ever heard of the Hawthorne effect? You know what I'm talking about? Hawthorne effect is that if you feel like someone is overwatching you and watching what you're doing, you change your behavior. You do the right thing. Okay? What a great benefit of that. Who could downgrade that as a human species? You don't think we need that? We're the most violent species on this planet. It's pretty kind of good for that purpose. I'm telling you, your grandpa and your grandma have so much to offer you, and you are not tapped into it. Guarantee you. Talk to them, guys. All right. Next group, the middle. Who's going to do it? Somebody make eye contact. You got it?
So we left a lot of our questions from the first one pretty open-ended.
Yeah.
We just tried to add a twist to them and make them more specific. We looked at what is the limit that you stretch yourself to. So again, it's back to that point. You don't want to overstress somebody and have them break down and never come back from it. But you don't stress somebody if you don't let them reach that point and not sure what they're going to do next. They're never going to develop from it. How do you deal with failure? How do you deal with fear? How do you deal with success? Those all three kind of go together. Talked a little bit about kids playing soccer where they don't keep score. You're never going to realize you never have that joy of winning. You never have that feeling of loss. So you never go through all those feelings of emotion as a kid. So now when you're older and you're applying for a job, you don't get the job. You don't know how to deal with loss. You start freaking out when you're older. How much risk do you take? That kind of goes into the rest of it.
Okay, let's talk about this risk thing. What do you guys think about the way Army handled risk? What's that? Kid gloves. Kid gloves? What do you mean by that?
It's like, we're gonna play a baseball game, right? We need a football bat, football, you know, we're at home at night, I throw.
CYA.
What's the risk of it?
The way the Army does risk, deals with risk is all about CYA instead of, actual application.
Okay.
I think on one hand, there's like, the Army, the idea behind it is to be responsible. There's no reason for people to die in training when
You guys just spent a whole hour before identifying, so is anybody here believe that we can predict the future? If not, you might want to consult the coffee cup, right? I had 19 years of peace till this morning, and all of a sudden, the fucking shooting didn't open. Right? Fuck. So you can't ignore that there are risks out there, right? What can we identify? Probability. Can we identify a probability? Can't predict. Is that an illusion that we're living? I think the risk management system, in my opinion, is living an illusion. What can we predict?
How people will react, or how the individual, how you can make them, as opposed to the circumstance, how the person can handle it instead.
Maybe.
I think you can predict how you will handle it.
Really? I know I can.
I don't agree with that, because I think a lot of times when you're put into a position, or there's other outside factors that may,
Okay.
one time you react this way, but then 2 weeks later, there may be other outside factors coming in,
So-
completely different.
You're all onto it. You're all agreeing that you can't predict, even though you think you're saying that you can. But what I can do is I can go over there and I can calculate the distance from there to that wall and the speed of that coffee cup, and I can tell you the ramifications of that happening, right? I can measure that fragility. I can measure the fragility in you. If I go, I deprive you of sleep, food, and water for 3 days, I can measure that, right? I don't have to predict it. I know you're gonna fucking break. It's just a fact, right? So now, if you're approaching things from that point of view, I make contact. What's the first thing I do?
Return back.
Is it, as a leader,
No, I guess that's the situation.
closer? As part of it? So, I'm an old infantry guy. There's 4 F's. Find, fix, blank, finish. Right? Every one of those are major events. Every one of those major events, the first thing that comes to that man's mind, where's my security? Who's got my left? Who's got my right? Who's got my rear? That's your job. Everybody else better be fucking behind cover. Return to fire. You got a security established, all right? Figuring out what it is, establish a base of fire. Fix. It's the first thing we do when we fix. Look around, you got security of that element, okay? Now, I gotta make a decision. Right, left, up, high, up the middle, right? That assault moves, first thing I do, where's my security assault? What's his left and right? What's going on out there? I establish the assault, get ready to assault across the objective. Before I move across that objective, if you do it right, you're looking around, you're like, where am I at? Where am I? Got myself covered here. Is my support my fire? Got security in, right? Assault across the objective, hit the LOA. Where's the LOA? Where at? Next defendable terrain. What's the first thing I do when I get there? Exactly. See the trend? Because we know if we don't, what will happen? Get our ass handed to us, right? That's a more practical way of looking at risk. Okay? You're looking at it from what will break. Okay? What will break, and then how will I mitigate that break? Okay? That's what you're talking about. That's how you make a plan. Okay? Now, think about that in your life. How am I going to break? What am I doing to mitigate that risk? Or that fragility? Okay? We'll talk about that later. That's good stuff. How do you ask for help? How do you guys ask for help?
I think one thing for me is, which I've had to learn, is not being afraid to look stupid, just continually asking questions until I understand the situation. Because the first time somebody explains something, they use terminology or something that I feel like I'm supposed to know, and as I continually
same thing? Your question machine? Okay. Good stuff. How do you deal with criticism? How do you guys do that now? Do you have an active, deliberate program to make yourself be better at taking criticism?
I have a tendency to just kind of internalize it, sort of absorb it, stuff
You
it
got a
somewhere.
great, are you married?
Negative.
You got a girlfriend?
No.
Who else? You guys in here married? You guys got a great tool at home. Man, I antagonize the living shit out of my wife. Just so she'll do that. You know what I mean? I'm like oblivious to criticism now. Just oblivious. She even has like changed me from, she's like dropped my rank from lieutenant colonel to yard boy. And I take ever a lot of pride in that. You know what I mean? You have people around you can practice this on. You better get used to criticism. We're gonna give you some criticism here. I can't wait till you get to bring Colonel Parkins. He's been pissed off since, I don't know, 83. He gives great fucking feedback. Okay? All right. Who'd you guys call?
Call my grandma.
Oh yeah? What'd she say?
First thing she said was, don't let him hang out with your mother. And then she said, give him a job.
Give him a job.
Yeah.
It's almost like the purpose thing, right? You notice that with old people, they always go right back to that. So they learn that, right? You don't have a purpose, you ain't fucking worth hanging around. Good stuff. Where's Grandma?
Florida now.
Really? Where?
South of Venice.
How old? She's waiting. Oh, good stuff. She's surprised you called?
Yeah.
No, ain't you ashamed? When's the last time you called?
She called me on my birthday about a week ago. Usually we talk about once a week.
Yeah, my dad always refers back to, how's the weather? Good stuff. All right, next group. Let's start with who you called.
We called my granddad.
Oh, okay. What's the story with your granddad?
Well, he just said that,
No, I mean, where's he from? All that kind of
oh,
stuff.
he's a retired full-bred in the Air Force, retired in Alabama, Gulf community of the lake.
He's living the life.
Living it up, man.
Was he, this is the first time he's heard from you in a while? Uh-huh.
Outside of email.
Okay.
That's how we generally stay in touch.
Stay in touch with him. What did he say?
He said strong people believe in something that's important to them, and they have a purpose.
Purpose.
Basically what he did.
Everybody see the trend here? Old parts kind of got it going on, right? All right. What are you guys doing? Who's gonna talk?
All right, well, very similar to the other groups. I mean, it's all surrounded based on the person's beliefs, their purpose, their drive, how to establish that environment for the person, you know, establishing what is right and wrong, how to teach them that, you know, and certainly building resiliency and perseverance. So
All right,
just,
stop. We said we're gonna build resilience. Let me think the Army's doing us justice by telling us we're building resilience in our soul. What does resilience mean?
I think of it in terms, I majored in engineering, so I think of it in terms of like, you know, for example, steel bar.
Right.
You know, you talk about resiliency of the material, its ability to return back to its original state. So, you know, when you say you make a steel bar and you're trying to see how strong it is, you know, you melt it down, you put it in the shape you want, you quench it in water. At that point, it's very strong, but it's very brittle. If you want it to be more durable, more resilient, it will return back instead of just, you know, snapping under stress. You got to put it under heat for an amount of time. You got to make sure that the heat is not, you know, above a certain threshold where it's going to start melting it back down. But you got to put it under that heat for a period of time to make it more resilient, tempering.
So the
And so I think
resilience,
that
the
applies.
bottom line is it comes back to its original state.
Right.
Everybody think that's where we need to be?
Not at all.
Anybody heard of post-traumatic growth? Know what I'm talking about? Think about that. I get a cousin that was an SF guy back in the early '80s, and he's always sending me like emails and blogs and stuff. He's an author that did some in-bed time in Iraq for a number of years. Saw more combat than anybody I've ever met, and he embedded with you guys know him at the time. He was Lieutenant Colonel Guerrilla. Now I think he's a brigadier general. He was with a striker unit up in Mosul. And anyways, he's always sending me these articles about problems that we're having in SOF, whether ethically or people doing things themselves. And he sent me something the other day about the British Army and the amount of guys that are hurting themselves. I don't know if you guys have seen that kind of thing. I don't particularly read the news, to be honest with you. And I think we're falling short when we just say we're going to go to resilient. And that when we do a class on this, we're just like, and if you have trouble, I want you to call so-and-so. This is the signs that you need to look for in your soldiers. That's your fucking soldier. Your job is to make him not resilient, but that. When you expose him to stress, he comes back stronger. You're getting him ready for those traumatic events, right? Every day. That's what your job is. He better come back stronger. You spend all that time putting his life at risk, your life at risk. You're not going to come back better. You're going to come back worse or the same. Who comes back the same from combat? It's the most stressful event in human history. It's even more ugly now, right? You gotta think beyond that, right? I'm not just sitting hammering on you guys. What I'm trying to tell you is, don't, and I like this about Colonel Parkins. This is his pet peeve, and I wish I'd have had this pet peeve. He don't like for people to sit in passive receive mode. If you're a guy in SOF and we put you in a place, nobody should have to come and tell you what to do. You fucking do. That's who we are. We don't have to be told our directions. Me and him went to the PI together. You know what they told me when I got there? You're over there, Mike. We're gonna link up with these people. That was my fucking mission statement. My intel came off of Yahoo News. See what I mean? You better be ready for that kind of thing. That's what you need to be prepared for. You don't wait. You get your unit, you start working on that right away. You want to know? I had guys that had nine fucking rotations. Where is he at? You better talk to him. Remember, I had a new warrant come into my team. I didn't know what to do with him. I'd never seen a warrant officer before. He came in and said, "Sir, you got a smart book so I can figure out what your SOPs are and who your guys are?" I'm like, "Oh, smart book." He's like, "Yeah." He said, "You have your SOPs, have all the critical administrative." I'm like, "Well, that sounds like a really good idea." Maybe you can develop one of those things. But if you want to know what Reggie can do, he can hump all day long. Shoot with iron sights. He's got a wife, 2 kids, and 3 dogs. If you get in a firefight, you want him right on your right side, not your left side. He can't go left. Right? You want to know what Rosie does? This is what Rosie is generally lazy, but he's smart. So we take advantage of that. He figures out how to do all things a smart way. You know what Stewie is? Stewie's the best NCO in the U.S. fucking Army. He's smarter than you. He's going to tell you everything that you want to do. And you're going to go, "Wow, I'm really smart." Right? You don't get that way through smart book guys. You get that way through conversation, talking every day, working on it, going, "Hey, I can't figure this out." You guys we have got to figure this out, right? That's the way you do it. You don't do it through fucking this. We're going to talk about this counseling thing. Nothing irritates me more than what we've turned counseling into. Okay? We've used it as an excuse to figure out how, in case somebody fucks up, how to get rid of it. Right? So that's what we're gonna transition into that, okay? Here's what counseling should be. I'll let you guys write all your counseling. Now, you've looked at all this stuff we put on the board, but what's fragile and what's anti-fragile? How many of you guys address these issues? Okay? How many of you guys, when you do a counseling statement, everybody thinks it's me, hey, here's my expectations of you. I ain't gotta live your life. You're gonna have to live with your actions. That's why I had you write it. You tell me who you're gonna be, okay? And then if I need to give you some advice to put you between the ditches to support our unit mission, I'll do that. Right? You tell me who you're gonna be and who you can live with. That's who you gotta come home to every day. You got a chance to invent yourself. And you know what? I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna be like, hey man, you said you wanted to do this. This is how you define integrity. This is how you define courage. This is how you define risk. This is how you define learning. This is how you define how you're going to train. This is how you define how you can be loyal to me and my fellow teammates. Right? This is our pact. That's what counseling is. Right? Our shit ain't like civilian. It's life or death. Every day. I prefer to go home to mom. Okay? You gotta treat it that way. So what we're gonna do over lunch, we go back, jot down a few ideas. I want you to come back. 3 guiding principles of your life. Okay? And then we're gonna talk about counseling some more after that. Okay? And what we're gonna do when we come back, I assume you guys will need the hour of weakness. So, I have a little chow. So I'll give you an hour and a half, okay? Feed you a little belly, and we'll be back here at 1 o'clock, all right? Be ready. We're gonna start applying what you have, how you make decisions. You're gonna talk this time. Okay? Everybody got what we're doing? You got a great job. You guys are fucking probably the best group I've had. Super smart. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.